Welcome back everyone. In this video we see women's candidates first round game played between Lee and Tan. In this game Lee play with white pieces and Tan play with black pieces. So Lee starts with d4 and Tan replies with knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, d5, and the game converts into Queen's Gambit declined variation. C takes d4, e takes d4, bishop g5, bishop e7, e3, h6, bishop h4, bishop g4, queen c2, and the black castles kingside, h3, bishop e6, knight f3, knight e4, and create pressure on bishop. But white continue with knight takes knight, bishop takes bishop, knight c5, and the white can exchange any of these two bishops. So black save his white colored bishop, bishop c8, knight takes bishop, queen takes knight, bishop e2, c6, b4, rook e8, and the white finally castles kingside, queen g5, and the threat is simple because this pawn is pinned. So white move his king on h1, knight d7, and offer for knight exchanges. But white continue with b5, and the black exchange his knight. Knight takes knight. If black take this b5 pawn, then bishop takes b5 comes, and the knight will pin. So black can't capture this knight. And also black can't move a6 because bishop takes knight comes, and after bishop takes bishop, knight takes bishop, and the black will down in material. So black didn't take this pawn and continue with knight takes knight, queen takes knight, rook e6, b takes c6, and the black can take this pawn with his rook. But black continue with rook g6, and the direct threat is checkmate. So white prevent this threat with bishop f3, b takes c6, queen a5, h5, queen c7. So white can move his queen on h2 or f4 to exchange black's queen. So black continue with queen h4. So threat is sacrifice his bishop, and after g takes bishop, this rook's line will open. Then queen takes h3, and the black will take this bishop with fork. So after queen h4, white continue with queen f4 and offer for queen exchanges. So black accept the offer, queen takes queen, e takes queen, rook f6. So if white take this pawn, then black will take this f4 pawn. And if white continue with g3, then bishop can take this h3 pawn and create pressure on rook. So white first move his rook on e1, king f8, rook c1, g6, king h2. So after rook takes f4, white can take this c6 pawn. Then black will take this d4 pawn. So black continue with rook takes f4, rook takes c6, rook takes d4, rook d1, rook takes rook, bishop takes rook, a5, king g3, bishop e6, king f4, king e7, a3, rook b8. So black can't give check because a3 pawn covers this b4 square. Rook c5, rook b2, rook takes a5, rook takes f2 check, bishop f3, king f6, rook a6, and pin this bishop. So both bishops are pinned. Rook f1, h4 to prevent g5 check, rook h1, king g3, king e5, a4, king d4, rook a8, king e3, rook e8. And here black continue with g5. So brilliant idea. If white take this pawn, then h4 and checkmate. You can see that king has no squares. And if white didn't take this pawn and take this h pawn, then g takes h4 and checkmate. King has no mouse. So here white has to play very carefully. So white eliminate black's bishop and continue with rook takes bishop and exchange his rook with bishop because black's bishop is very dangerous for white. F takes rook, h takes g5, h4 check, king g4. And you can see that this pawn is only 3 moves, far from promoting square. So black has to play very carefully. So black continue with h3, but white can't take this pawn because after g takes h3, rook g1 check, and after moving king, white will lose his bishop. So white can't take this pawn, and this pawn is very dangerous. You can see that. So black continue with king f2. And if white continue with g7, then h takes g2, and after bishop takes g2, rook g1, and this bishop is pinned. So white can't promote this queen because rook takes bishop comes, and after moving king, white will lose his queen. So white continue with king f4, rook a1, and now pressure is on a4. g7, rook takes a4 check, king g5, can't take this bishop because this pawn will promote into queen. So black continue with rook a8 and cover g8 square. So white didn't save his bishop and continue with g takes h3. King takes bishop h4. So white want to promote his pawn. So final move from black, rook g8, and after rook g8 white resigned here. Reason for resign is simple. If white continue with king h6 and support his g7 pawn, then king g4 and the pressure is on h4. So if white move his king, then rook takes g7 and the black can sacrifice his rook. King takes h4 and the white can't reach this pawn. If white move his king, then this pawn is unstoppable. You can see that. So this pawn promote into queen. So white's king can't stop this d5 pawn. And if white continue with h5, then black also sacrifice his rook. Then after king takes rook, king takes h5 comes, and again white can't reach this pawn, and this pawn will promote into queen. So white resigned after rook g8.